Welcome to Jumpshot Analytics, and thank you for your interest. I will do a quick walkthrough of our analytics platform so you can understand how our platform can help your basketball team. Our platform consists of different sections, so let's begin with the first section, player evaluation. And for this walkthrough, we will be using the 2023 data of Fuerza Regia, the current champs of LNBP in Mexico. So let's start with player evaluation, player performance section. Here in the player evaluation section, we delve into intricate details of player performance so we can uncover valuable insights that can transform your team's strategy. And in this section, we focus on evaluating individual player performance across various metrics. Each metric provides a comprehensive understanding of how a player contribution impacts your team's success. So let's begin with player selection. For example, you can see the entire roster of Fuerza Regia. And let's say you want to select Sean Miller. So you see Sean Miller's data of the entire season. You can see date, game. This is like the traditional box score that you can find on any website, plus all the special metrics that we use for our platform. So we begin with player performance. As you can see, once you selected a player, we present a detailed data frame showcasing the key statistics. And then we start going into special player performance metrics such as approximate value. This is our first metric for player performance. And you can find a definition for all our metrics on our website, but we also include each definition here. For example, approximate value is a metric which is an estimate of a player's value, distinguishing between very good games, average games, and poor games. And once you selected a player, Sean Miller, you can see Sean Miller's approximate value. And you can also see Fuerza Regia's mean approximate value. That way you can compare and see if Sean Miller is above or below the team's mean. In this case, Sean Miller is above the team's mean. And you can also see it in a bar graph. Here you can see Sean Miller and the value. Next we go to, you can also see the approximate value over time. You can see here, you can see August 19th. Each of these dates represent a game of the season. So you can see how the player's approximate value has changed. The next metric is player impact estimate, or PI. This metric delves deeper into the player's influence on the game by analyzing their effectiveness across various aspects. And again, through this bar chart as well as a line chart, you can get a pretty good picture of how this player impacts the game. But in this section also we have a radar chart. And you can see, for example, in the case of Sean Miller, the selected player, his impact is more on points, also on field goals made, and he's also high on defensive rebounds. That's player impact estimate. We continue with our next metric, game score. And game score offers a snapshot of a player's performance in a single game. By comparing the score to the team's mean, you can uncover patterns and trends that can inform you to make strategic decisions moving forward. So again, we see Sean Miller's game score average and the team's average. You can see if it's above or below. Our next metric is usage rate. And understanding a player's usage rate is crucial for optimizing team dynamics. Through insightful bar and line charts, as well as pie chart visualization, you can grasp the extent to which the player is involved in offensive plays. You can see in this case, for example, that Sean Miller's usage rate is below the team's mean. So this can inform the coach or the decision maker that maybe the selected player is not being used as much or is being used too much. You can see in a more visual form Sean Miller's usage rate compared to the rest of the team. We continue with the next metric, individual floor performance. This metric provides valuable insights into a player's shooting efficiency. By comparing the performance to the team's mean, you can identify areas of strength and opportunities for improvement. So again, bar charts and line charts to see how this player's individual floor percentage has changed over time. For example, there was a big decrease between these 3 games. And the next metric is versatility index, which is a metric that measures a player's ability to produce in more than one statistic. This metric uses points, assists, and rebounds, and the average player will score around 5, while top players score above 10. So in this case, you can see that Sean Miller, his index is pretty low, 3. It's below average. And you can also see it here in a more visual form. You can see that this player's contribution is more points, more than anything else, and also rebounds. We continue with the next metric, touches. And in this metric, we estimate the number of times a player touches the ball in an attacking position on the floor. For this metric, the theory behind the formula is that once a player gets the ball, a player can only do one of 4 things, aside from dribbling, of course, and those 4 things are pass, shoot, draw a foul, or commit a turnover. For example, Sean Miller's average is 20 touches per game. And you can see in a pie chart, out of those touches, you can see 3.2 are turnovers, 0% are fouls, 22% every time this player has the ball, he shoots it. And every time he has the ball, 74% of the time he passes the ball. And finally, for the player performance section, we find this metric player possessions, which measures scoring and non-scoring possessions for each player. Again, seeing bar charts and line charts, but also comparing in a bar chart the player's scoring possession against the player's non-scoring possession. So that's an average, which means on average, Sean Miller, each game, 7 possessions are converted, 2 possessions are not converted. So that is our player performance section, which is part of our player evaluation section. We will continue with the player evaluation section, and now we transition to player offense. Here again, you can also select a different player if you want. Let's select Daniel Bejarano. And on player offense, we measure offensive rating. Again, displaying the player's offensive rating and comparing it to the team's average. You can visualize offensive rating on a bar chart as well as a line chart to see how the player's offensive rating has changed over time. Next, we see points per shot attempt, which is a metric that is calculated by dividing total points by total field goal attempts. And you can see in this case that Daniel Bejarano's points per shot attempt is above the team's average. Again, seeing bar chart and line chart. The next metric for player offense is points produced. And we know that a player produces points through made shots, assists, and offensive rebounds. And the number of points produced by the various methods depends on the actual number of points scored and the importance of a player's contribution. So there are many cases where, for example, a player might score only 2 points, but maybe the player had 10 assists or many offensive rebounds that contribute to the production of points. So this metric helps us understand how many points does each player produce. In this case, for example, we see that Daniel Bejarano's average is below the team's average. And we also see that the selected players' points production is more towards points and assists and very few offensive rebounds. The next metric is effective field goal percentage. And this metric helps us measure the effectiveness of 2-point shots and 3-point shots. We can also see the player's average, the team's average, a bar chart for the metric, and a line chart. The next metric is true shooting percentage. And this metric factors also the performance at the free throw line. So it takes made free throw shots into consideration. And also you can see it again, bar chart, line chart. We continue with assist percentage, which is an estimated percentage of a teammate field goals a player assisted while the player is on the court. You continue with rebound percentage. Again, rebound percentage is estimated percentage of available rebounds grabbed by the player while the player is on the court. Out of that rebound percentage, for example, in the case of Daniel Bejarano, his rebound percentage is 1.8. But we can also see in a bar graph offensive rebound percentage versus defensive rebound percentage. And finally, for player offense section, we see turnover ratio. We know what turnovers are, so turnover percentage is the percentage of a player possession that ends in a turnover. Our next section for player evaluation section is player defense. In this section, once again, you select a player. Let's select Aaron Fuller. And here we see defensive rating. And for example, this line chart shows there was a big drop between these two games in comparison to the rest of the season. You can see defensive stops, and defensive stops occur when a player or a team regains the ball without allowing the opponent a scoring possession. So in this case, a selected player averages about 10 defensive stops each game. We also have block percentage, steal percentage. So that concludes our player evaluation section, which is divided into player performance, player offense, and player defense. Now let's continue with team evaluation.